Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. We're back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We have a repeat performance. We have Ryan Minton, best-selling author and keynote speaker, who is back to talk about his new book titled Uplifted. So we're going to talk about the hospitality mentality because his background is in the hotel industry, where he was a manager of a hotel and eventually became a senior director or VP of a chain of hotels. This guy knows what it's like to deliver a great customer experience. And before we get into the interview, I have a quick announcement. And if you've listened to the show before, you know what this is. Real quickly, if you've got a question you want to ask me on any social media channel. Use the hashtag AskShep. I'll either answer the question right there in the social channel on this show, or maybe in my newsletter, which is the Shepherd Letter, which you can subscribe to at no charge by just going to Hyken, HYKEN.com, and check it out. I think you'll like it. I send out a cartoon every week. Lots of good information. And while you're there, also download at no charge my annual customer service and experience research. You don't even have to give me your email address for that. It just shows up on your screen and you can save it and do whatever you want. Share with all your friends and neighbors. All right, let's jump into this interview with Ryan Minton. Ryan is Welcome to the show.
Hey, Shep, good to see you again.
You know, I've seen you quite a bit since the last time you were on the show. You're a repeat offender here. This is your second time back. And I remember you're in the hospitality industry. I firmly believe that regardless of the type of company you are, B2B, B2C, and even the government, for crying out loud, no matter what you do, a hospitality mentality is super duper important. And your background in hospitality, why don't we start there? And then we'll remind everybody what you did 6 years ago, because I want to talk about that last book, which I love, and then talk about your new book titled Uplifted, The Remarkable Power of Positive Leadership on Frontline Employees. That is a lot to say, but I think I said it perfectly, and I'll say it again in a little while. So Ryan,
You nailed it.
You were an executive at a hotel chain, major brands everybody would recognize. Why don't we start with what you've been doing since we first met 6 years ago?
Well, to kind of capitalize on what you just said, I say all the time, great customer service is rooted in hospitality. Good old-fashioned customer service is just good old-fashioned hospitality. And I think that's a reason why so many brands and companies look to the hotel industry as kind of this standard for for the best customer service, because we practice hospitality. But 6 years ago, when Thanks for Coming In Today came out and you and I connected, I was a general manager at a Marriott. And since then, I worked my way up to a couple other properties, bigger properties, eventually became a senior executive for a third-party management company. And we managed Marriott and Hilton brands. And then at the end of last year, I decided, you know what? I'm ready to move into a new direction and start helping on a bigger and grander scale. So I started writing more and speaking, and now I have the second book coming out, Uplifted, and it's been a fun ride.
All right, so let's jump back to Thanks for Coming In Today, which was a wonderful book, basically about one of your employees that just was connecting with your guest. And give us like a 60-second synopsis of that so everybody knows a little bit more of the background. Then we're going to jump into the new book, Uplifted.
Yeah, Jason was a young man that worked for me at a front desk at a Marriott in Cincinnati, and he just had this unbelievable affection for everyone around him. And he would come up to me every day for a shift, and he'd give me this big handshake, and he'd say, "Ryan, thanks for coming in today." And I always joke, I'm his boss. I should be thanking him, but he would do it with everybody. And I got the opportunity to work with Jason for a while, and he moved up in his career. I moved up, and I would promote him. And unfortunately, Jason lost his life to a very tragic car accident. And when he died, I did a lot of reflecting around my, friendship with him. And something that I landed on was just, man, I really miss Jason saying thanks for coming in today. And really that kind of led me into what was the basis of my entire leadership philosophy was, every time Jason said thanks for coming in today, it made me feel like I mattered. I felt like I was appreciated. And I tied that directly to, just whether or not I was happy at work. If I had a leader that made me feel like I was appreciated, I was more inclined to enjoy coming to work. And so I wanted my employees to feel like they mattered, they appreciated. And so that was really kind of, thanks for coming in today in a nutshell. And I started doing, a way, and it's a way to honor Jason. I would go up to my employees and say, "Hey, thanks for coming in today." And it just became part of who I am to this day. So I see employees now, I run into them and they'll run up to me and try to say, "Thanks for coming in today" to me before I can say it to them. And it's
So you
really
not you have to have a new mantra now because you no longer are in a hotel where you're able to thank your employees for coming in and making them feel great and empowered.
yeah.
So what do you say to your client when you're out there at a speaking engagement and they walk
Wait,
up
I
and
still
go,
use it.
"Thanks for having me come in
Yeah,
today"?
it's funny. I say thanks for coming in today to you. You came in, you made the effort to come into your office, and we're here. So yeah, you're right. I probably could find a new variation, but it does seem to work in a lot of places.
It sure does. It sure does. All right. So this new book, Uplifted: The Remarkable Power of Positive Leadership on Frontline Employees. This is an extension of thanks for coming in today. I can tell, and looking through the content, you've got some great concepts. We're gonna talk about a few of them. The no bad day policy and its impact on customer experience is where we're going to start. You've got within that, you've got something you refer to as the balloon effect. And so for the first part of the show, I want to just cover those ideas and those concepts.
Yeah, I just have, after making a career out of hospitality, I just have such a heart for the frontline employee because one of the things I'm fascinated by the work that you and I do, Shep, is just this, how many brands rely on frontline employees to create the customer experience. We're entrusting our entire reputation into the hands of people making minimum living wages. Yet these are the folks that, don't like their job, have high turnover, don't enjoy coming to work. And all my success in my career, going into hotels, turning them around, it was always the same formula. I've got to make sure these folks that are providing the service to my guests are engaged, enjoy what they're doing, because I think you say this, what happens on the inside is being felt on the
Yep.
outside by the customer.
Right.
And so I'm just really passionate about that. And so um, I felt like early in my career, I realized, I'm in a pretty cool position, whether it was just a one hotel or a couple hotels, that I get to impact these people. They're 8 to 10 hours a day, and I want to make sure they have that this is the best part of their day, not the part where they dread going to work. So many people around the world wake up every morning and dread going to work. And if I could make those 8 to 10 hours a day the best part of their day, like I felt like I was winning. And that kind of led into this idea of the no bad day policy, which was I've worked for those jerks who, wear their emotions on the sleeve and you don't know what kind of mood they're going to be in. And that's not fair. It's not fair to the employees. And I just felt if, and I feel if you're serious about creating an environment where you want to provide this great customer service, this great customer experience, well, man, the employees better enjoy doing that. And so I really recognized the impact I had on my individual employees' day. And so I had to be in a good mood all the time, even when I wasn't. And so I have this no bad day policy that I would share with my leaders and say, look, guys and gals, when we're in the hotel, when we're working, we're on. And, you know, we can have a bad day. We're all human. I talk about all the time. I have a 3-year-old. There are nights I'm not getting sleep. I don't wake up every morning in the best mood. But when I go to work, I owe it to my folks to give them the best version of me. And so, my team knew we couldn't have a bad day. Now, I would tell people all the time, look, we can go in my office, we can hash things out. I see you have some guitars in your office. We might need to break one over the desk, for having a bad day. We when we go out in front of our team and our customers, we owe it to them to be on and be in a good mood because again, that's going to be reflected out to the
Yeah.
customer.
The mood affects your team's energy, is
Oh
what you're
yeah,
saying. And
100%.
that will directly impact the guest experience or the customer experience or what client experience, whatever the person you call, what is the one who pays you money to do what you do. So, what is this balloon effect?
Well, it's kind of ties right into that. So I imagine that everyone carries with them an invisible balloon.
Like a
And
cartoon balloon,
like this
for a
balloon
character?
right
Oh no,
here. So
you
like an
actually, for
actual,
those that don't see this,
yeah,
he is holding a red
yeah,
balloon, like at a party. Blow it up,
exactly.
let's have
Like
a birthday
a
party.
birthday balloon, a
Yep.
helium balloon. And so when you and I interact with each other, and this just isn't customers, this isn't just employees. This is my life now. When I pass someone in the grocery store, I imagine we
You
all
hand
have.
them a balloon when you pass them through the
No,
grocery
no,
store.
no, I don't can't carry any balloons. I imagine they have this balloon and you just can't see it. And everybody's balloon is at a different level. I mean, we are all dealing with different things in our life. And whether we like it or not, our employees bring those things into the workplace. And so, someone over here maybe have a very inflated balloon, everything is going good, everybody's happy. Um, the next person they're dealing with, God knows what at home. Maybe they've lost someone, maybe there's a health issue. And so their balloon is at a much different level. And so I interact with the idea that, well, let my interaction at least put a little bit of air into that balloon. And when I leave that interaction, their balloon is a little more inflated. And the last thing I want to do is deflate it. And there's a lot of leaders out there that's what they do. They deflate people's balloons. They poke holes in people's balloons, do permanent damage. And so, I share with clients and people all the time, like, this idea that, and I said it already in this talk, we have a privilege when we manage people, and we can really impact people. And I ask people all the time, do you remember your first boss? Almost everybody does. And whether you're someone's first boss or not, people will remember you. People remember you as a manager, as a leader, as a boss. And what are you going to be remembered for? So it's kind of just a fun way for me to, manage my own interactions is, all right, what can I do to kind of lift this person up?
I am thinking about Tom Peters, who's a name that a lot of younger people won't realize who that person is, but he was a guru. In the 1980s, he wrote the book In Search of Excellence with a co-author, and it was about the best companies and how they became the best companies. He subsequently wrote some other books. One of the concepts he talked about was MBWA, management by walking around. And what he wanted to achieve is when a leader walked out of their office and started walking around, that people didn't cower in fear because here comes the boss. I know I'm going to get yelled at. And if he says he's out walking around more often, engaging with employees, patting them on the back, uplifting them, if you will, then whenever he was seen, or whoever the boss was, whenever the boss was seen, there would not be any fear factor. As a matter of fact, there might be, oh wow, I get to see the boss again, kind of a feeling. And I think that's part of what you're getting, or you're able to achieve with the no bad day policy and this balloon concept that you're talking about.
Exactly. It's exactly what I'm talking about. And, one of the things I talked about in that first book, thanks for coming in today, was that, I didn't attribute to Tom, but managing by walking around. And I always said, look, the first 2 hours of my day were the most important. I didn't set foot in my office. It was walking around the hotel into different departments, just seeing how folks were doing, checking in. And of course, I was doing that on a personal level, but operationally, it was also allowing me to see what was going on. I might find out that one of the washers is down in laundry, and while maintenance may know about it, maybe they haven't made it the priority that I see it needs to be. And now all of a sudden, you're a hero to the housekeeping team because you've just shifted priorities to make sure that washer gets done, fixed right away. So yeah, I embrace MWA all the way.
So that's great. And it's a great analogy, great example. Just substitute whatever your business is, whatever issue there is with, instead of washing machine, it's whatever it is. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of things. Number one, I want to talk a little bit about empowerment and how it improves, or how we using trust will improve that empowerment. I also want to talk about, really important for a lot of people, the ROI of positive leadership. It shouldn't cost anything. It should pay dividends. We're talking to Ryan Minton, best-selling author, and the most recent book, Uplifted, The Remarkable Power of Positive Leadership on Frontline Employees. It's available at Amazon. Don't go away. We're coming right back. Shep Hyken here with an offer that won't cost you a cent. You may have heard me talk about my annual customer service and experience research. We've surveyed thousands of customers matching the U.S. Census for age, gender, ethnicity, and geography. And we find out what customers love, hate, and want in a customer experience. What's the number one customer experience that almost every customer desires? What makes them come back? What makes them leave? Why won't they fill out surveys? What do they think of AI? Well, these questions and more are answered in the research. You can download the full report by going to hyken.com and clicking on the research tab at the top. Like I said, it won't cost you a cent, but it may make you or save you thousands and thousands of dollars when you understand your customers' expectations. Again, the website is www.hyken.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We are back on Amazing Business Radio talking to my friend Ryan Minton about his new book, Uplifted. Ryan, we've talked about the no bad day policy. We talked about the balloon effect. We even jumped a little Tom Peters information in there about management by walking around. I want to talk about this concept of empowerment through trust. I mean, obviously, if you start to trust your employees, they feel empowered, but blow this up a little bit for us.
Yeah, empowerment through trust is just, I think if you're really serious about providing great customer experience, you got to take the handcuffs off, right? Um, I say all the time, let employees do the job you hired them to do.
Yep.
And I remember early in my career walking into a hotel that I had been asked to kind of turn around, and I walked into the back office and there was a big chart on the wall, and it said you had a problem on the left that a guest may encounter, and then there were a couple options of what the employee could do. And I took it off the wall because I just think that when you get into really, prescribing or prescripting what these employees have to do when something goes wrong, you're really kind of risking the human element here. So, for instance, if one guest who complains at the front desk that the light bulb is off by the bed could be just letting you know because they want to let you know. But the other person could be furious because they can't sleep without that light, or, they had a meeting and, messed up their, podcast or whatever. You don't know. So what I do for that guest is going to be completely different than the guest that's fired up. And, there's a story I tell in the book about a hotel I took over in Boca. I know you know Boca well. And I had not been there very long. And I walked into the hotel to start my day, and the director of sales is waiting for me in the lobby. I can tell she's furious. She wants to talk to me. We go in my office and she explains to me that one of our top clients, the biggest account the hotel had, $1 million account, one of their VIPs tried to check in during the overnight shift. Now, typically in a hotel, you have one employee working, not a whole lot going on. And the VIP, the executive, explained to the front desk agent that she lost her wallet. She did not have her credit card or ID. She was a bit distraught. She didn't have any of these things. Well, the agent continues to, check her in and ask her for her credit card and ID, which she
this
already
is what
explained.
She was programmed to do.
Right, programmed to do. It's the policy of the hotel to have an ID and a credit card. And she, of course, re-explains, I don't have that. And he says, well, I can't check in. Our policy is you have to have a credit card and an ID to check in. Now, like most businesses that are probably listening to this, a lot of us have customer intelligence. We have CRMs, we have things in front of them, just like this agent did. And he saw a lot of information for this individual that she had stayed at the hotel over 50 times. She was with the
50 times, and
50
now we're
times.
telling her, oh my gosh.
Yeah. She's with the top account. She's the highest status of the brand. There's a credit card on file. There's 100 different things that, would help him make the right decision here. But he was so black and white in the policy that he literally sent her away.
And this is one of your peeps.
This is one of my peeps. And I think I had been at the hotel for maybe a week. So the Ryan
You
Minton
didn't hire this
philosophy,
person. You
I
didn't
didn't know,
train
already
this
there.
person.
We hadn't touched on this policy, on the empowerment culture yet. And so she goes to our competitor. And this is a true story, Shep. To this day, that account is still at the competitor.
Wow.
I know that for a fact. And so I use this story to illustrate that in customer service, we oftentimes get trapped in the black and white, and we have to be comfortable in the gray area. There are situations where you just have to do the right thing. And to benefit the customer. In this case, all he had to do was check her in. We could have dealt with it the next day. We honestly had everything we needed from her anyway. But that policy, which I often jokingly say the policy is a P word, it's a dirty word, is it cost the hotel $1 million.
That's crazy.
So
Yeah.
empowerment to me is so crucial. And so I always want to make sure that employees understand they can do whatever they need to do to make sure they take care of the customer. And
So, yeah.
I even, when we talk about, sorry to cut you off, I know we hear a lot about Ritz-Carlton and $2,000, and I love that. But I don't even put a dollar amount on it. I really, my experience has shown that employees do the right thing within reason. And if they don't, then let's talk about it on the back end. But let's just make sure we take care of the customer first.
Yeah. I'm going to summarize these points with some of the things that we teach, either in my speeches or training programs. Number one, old concept, 1 to say yes, 2 to say no. I didn't come up with this, but hardly anybody's ever heard of it before. But basically, you hire good people, you train them properly, you remind them that the P word, policy, is really not a rule. It's a guideline. And if you think about a tightrope, you can walk the tightrope and lean a little to the left and the right not fall off because you're just trying to stay in balance. Just don't lean too far to the left or the right, or you will fall off. So you don't have to walk straight perfect, which is almost impossible to do. That's number one. So what's 1 to say yes, 2 to say no is if I think I can be flexible and do what this customer or guest needed, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And then I'm going to go tell my manager what I did to make sure I did it right, because I think I know this would make them happy, my managers. And I know it's going to make the guest happy, of course. However, if I just don't know what to do, which apparently this particular employee at the front desk did not know what to do, that's when you say, can you hold on for just a moment? And I go back because I don't know how to say yes if I'm that employee. I bring you out, my mentor, my coach, my boss, and you show me what to do. And then guess what? I never have to ask you about this again because you've just taught me. And ideally, you're going to share this same example with everyone else on the team so that they can learn from what I experienced, what I either said yes and came back and told you I did, or didn't know how to say yes and what you taught me. So anyway, that kind of wraps it up in a bow. I want to, and I know we're running out of time, I want to talk about this ROI because this is what especially leadership wants. I want to know if I'm going to invest and try this out. And maybe I'll buy everybody a copy of Uplifted and we'll all get on this whole concept of being great managers and leaders. I want to know that I'm going to get some return on this. So walk me through that.
Yeah, I mean, again, the ROI for this it's always tough to measure, but the intangibles, people enjoy coming to work. People enjoy coming to work, they're more inclined to give better service. People are getting better service, your customers are happier. Customers are happier, they do ultimately what we all want them to do, which is come back, return.
You sound like Herb Kelleher from Southwest. More important, employees passengers or stakeholders, the investors and the people who need that ROI, and thought about it. And he said, hey, I think it's the employees because we make them happy. Exactly what you said. I don't need to repeat it. So that's a beautiful.
Well, I think the great Shep Hyken has a book called I'll Be Back.
I do.
So, and that's at the end of the day, that's the ultimate ROI. I really believe that.
Yeah.
It's why you see so many companies that are investing in these massive loyalty programs. Because
and loyalty, by the way, is more than tied to a program. Loyalty programs bring customers back, but oftentimes, Ryan, you tell me, how many of whether it's the Hilton Honors or the Bonvoy program with Marriott, how many of them kept staying at those Marriotts because they wanted to get more Bonvoy points?
Right. Exactly.
When if you took the points away, do you think they'd still come back? You hope they would, right?
You hope they will, but you're right. There's a lot of people that are chasing those points. I think you might be one of them.
I know. Hey, I'm definitely one of them. I will tell you, I've been writing about this for years. Take away the points and perks. Do they stay with you? And can you think of a company that has no loyalty program, but people just keep coming back to it?
Actually, one that I use a lot, and I scratch my head on it, is Publix.
Publix is so they don't have any kind of a membership loyalty type
It's
program.
on my list and I think I'm going to post a video about it. They'll ask me for my phone number, and the cashier. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've
started
asked
there. You were halfway there. You said the
Yeah,
cash.
yeah, the cash person. The cashier, I've asked, like, what is this for? And they never quite can articulate what it is, but they say that somehow I can get some savings, but you don't need it to do their famous BOGOs. That's what Publix is known for, their weekly buy one, get ones. That's why people, are crazy about Publix. But yeah, I think about them often because I'm there 2, 3 nights a week buying my son massive amounts of fruit. And I'm like, man, I wish they had a loyalty program.
Why do you wish that? Because you'd like to get something in return for all the money that you spend?
You know why I wish it? Because I am a lifelong Cincinnatian. I transplanted to Florida 6 years ago, and Cincinnati is Kroger. Kroger is headquartered in Cincinnati, and they have as you probably know, a very, very strong loyalty program. They tie your spend to fuel points, and you can really save a lot of money on gas by buying your groceries there. So a lot of people are very loyal to that. And I think about that all the time when I'm at Publix.
Yep.
Like, I wish
there's different kind of loyalty programs. I know we're going down a rabbit hole, but I want to come back to the grocery store example in a moment. A loyalty program is a points and perks program that gives you an incentive to come here instead of somewhere else. Again, take it away, or you're still going to come here. Number two, there's membership programs like Amazon. You pay to get a Prime membership, and you feel like you want to be loyal to that company because you want to get your money's worth out of the membership. And by the way, they give you great benefits for being a member. So I'm not criticizing them at all. And then there's companies like Publix, and they're asking for your phone number and you don't know why. And, many years ago, Radio Shack, remember them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you're probably under 30, you have no idea what.
I'm in a Radio Shack.
Yeah. Radio Shack used to always ask for your phone number. And a friend of mine, another speaker, Larry Wingate, said, I'm not going to give you my phone number. And well, then, I'm sorry, you can't do business. I don't know it was a very funny bit that Larry used to tell. And I think it's interesting because I think that was even before loyalty program. I think people want to track the customer and know when they're repeat business. But how about Trader Joe's? You ever been to a Trader Joe's?
I have been to Trader Joe's. Yeah.
How much fun is it to go to a Trader Joe's?
Can
love Trader Joe's. Can you feel energy when you go to a Trader Joe's?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, our mutual friend, Brittany Hodak, just wrote about how that's the greatest loyalty program. Just be that good that you don't ask for any information. People just keep coming back.
Mm-hmm. And they have cult-like followers.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
All right. We are totally out of time, but I'm going to ask that final question. And that is let's look at this book, Uplifted. What nugget of wisdom have you not yet shared with us that would be great to leave this audience with?
Well, I didn't share it to this exact point, but I want to kind of go back to something we said at the beginning, which is if you're listening to this right now or watching this and you manage one person or 1,000, it doesn't matter. Take a moment and reflect on what a privilege that is, that someone has entrusted you into position to manage someone's day-to-day life. People, get up and they work. That's what we do for the most part. And so take that as a privilege and really look for opportunities like we talked earlier to, breathe a little bit of air into someone's balloon, lift them up a little. That to me is what an uplifting leader does.
I love it. I love it. Ryan, thanks for being back on the show. You're a repeat performer, and we'll probably have you back again. I can't wait.
Thanks, Shep. Thanks for coming in today.
There you go. Well, you've uplifted me, which, by the way, is the title of the book, Uplifted, The Remarkable Power of Positive Leadership on Frontline Employees, available at Amazon. We've been talking with Ryan Minton, a great, amazing interview, if I could use that word again and again. And we'll be back next week with another great interview. And until that time, this is Shep Hyken, and I am reminding you to always be amazing.